Practice today, very hard and physical, which is good for us, and I think we're trying to get into a routine of having normal Saturday games here for the next 6 weeks.
Now, what's it like having that comfort level, knowing that you're home?
It feels good. You know, it feels good to just kind of be on a normal schedule and know we're going to be in our own hotel and for 5 of the next 6 games, and hopefully we can get a rhythm going. How
can Colorado catch you off guard?
By us not playing well, you know, by us starting to practice like we did today. You know, we came out here and didn't start very well on offense, and you know, you start turning the ball over, getting penalties, and you know, we'll let them right in the game. So that's our focus, not to do that.
Has that been all week or just today?
Just today, you know, just this morning. So we got them back, and they finished strong.
You've referred to Leonard Williams as an SEC type of defensive lineman. How would you describe what an SEC defensive lineman is?
Well, I think if you study the draft, and you know, in general, that's where they come from. You know, they come from the South, and you know, and so when I say that, he happens to be from the South, but you know, big, physical, strong. I mean, he's here as a true freshman. He's been here for what, probably 2-3 months. You know, and he's making a huge impact. And played his best game last week. Continues to improve, and at times was dominating. You know, on the road as a true freshman. You know, that says a lot.
How hard is it to go in there and successfully recruit someone like him, and as you talked about getting more guys like him?
Well, we've been on a pretty good run. You know, if you look at Nikel coming here, starting every game as a true freshman from the South on defense, and then Lamar Dawson coming here and starting as a true freshman at middle linebacker, and now Leonard Williams for the 3rd year in a row. 3 guys starting as true freshmen. So we've been fortunate to get those guys, and they've come out here and done really well, and hopefully that will help in the future. And you know, it's not easy, obviously, you know, to get kids to leave. You know, especially for some reason when you talk about big kids, linemen a lot of times tend to stay closer home than skilled guys.
How have you established and cultivated?
What is Leonard, you know, doing now that maybe you didn't think a freshman could quite be able to do at this point?
Well, I think he doesn't get rattled. You know, you look at that game and they're in no huddle at the end of that game and going down to score to try to make it a 1-score game, and just to be lining up right at that point, you know, is more than a lot of our guys can do. You know, let alone to make plays, and the energy that he played with, and you know, he hit their quarterback there at the end. You know, the ball's starting to come free, and huge hit on him that completely knocks the ball out. And so it's just great to see, just one of those rare guys that can come in as a true freshman and not just play, but make an impact.
Is he playing nose tackle?
No, he plays 3, but then sometimes we shift him. But when him and George are in there together, he plays the 3 and George plays the nose.
And George plays the nose.
Yes.
How have you cultivated and worked that Florida pipeline? How did it start?
Well, I think it started years ago, probably with Mike Williams coming here and having so much success. You know, he shattered all the freshman records in the country for receiving at the time, and so for someone to do that, to not go right down the road to Florida, like he was thinking, to come out here and have an impact, and it just kind of set up a run of, you know, of these guys coming now, you know, and Keith Rivers coming shortly after that.
You talked about how you guys kind of pushed Juwan from a competition standpoint, and maybe guys who could have been before him, but he's risen above that. Have you guys had talks about that?
Yeah, you know, we're always challenging our guys and trying to get them better at things and not letting them be complacent, and Juwan is a great example of that. You know, we've moved guys around, even shared reps, and at one point he was on the 2nd team, I think maybe even last spring. So he's done a great job responding to that, not sitting around and complaining, and has gotten better and is playing really well.
Dion has continued to be a big-time playmaker for you guys, but looking ahead for him on the next level, and he's not a linebacker size-wise. How hard is it for a guy to, you know, be a safety, move to linebacker here, and then, you know, maybe in the future move back to that safety spot?
Well, the thing about Dion, he's never going to get that big. So, you know, I think that he's showing people that he can make so many plays, and so many people play 8-man fronts with safeties anyway. They end up being outside linebackers in the NFL, and so he can go back and play the middle third and play halves, and you know, be a hybrid too. You know, I think people want to play him in nickel too, knowing that he could be a nickel back because of his experience in the box.
How the rate at which he was able to adapt from safety to linebacker. I mean, you moved him, what, in spring, I want to say, and then he started for you right away. Did that surprise you that he was as good as he was as soon as he was?
Well, he's just, you know, we have a number of kids like that are special kids. They prepare like professionals, and a lot of kind of group of guys, you know, Robert and Randall and Dion and Hayes, and a bunch of them that are all really good buddies, and they really make our team, even though they're not the oldest guys on it, by the way that they prepare, and he's a good example of that. And then they lead for the next guys to come. And then Marquise comes in and he starts fitting into that group. And now Nelson's in there. And so it's a great system to have for these guys for it to trickle down.
We've talked a lot about the passing game the last few days. How important is the run, keeping that running game going to be for you guys now?
Well, I think it was really critical for us to show that we can run the ball for our opponents that we play, to get people eventually at some point here to stop spending so much time on number 9 and number 2. And then I think also for your team, I think it's a mentality. We don't ever want to be a team that's just a throw the ball around team, because I think it affects your whole team. And most of those teams, if you look around the country, that throw the ball a ton and don't run the ball, usually they don't have very good defenses. And so I think that it's just a product of your team of what you want. And we don't want to be that. We want to be a physical defense that in practice we can run the ball at them and make them really have to hold up. And I think that carries over to your entire team.
What did Josh Shaw show you at corner against Washington and since then?
Well, I think just to be able to go in there and even line up after such a little time playing, and he didn't get flustered, and a lot of that goes to his experience. We went with him over some other kids based off of his experience, playing at Florida and playing in big games, even though he was playing at safety at the time. So I think he did a great job.
Is that a battle this week for that spot?
Yeah, he's in there with reps along with the other guys, and we'll figure it out.
And what about left tackle? When are you going to make that call?
Probably late in the week. I would anticipate both guys playing.
When you switch back to tight end, was that to counter Randall being out, and do you anticipate him maybe playing there again if Randall's out again?
Well, the first thing was, yeah, it was with the experience at tight end. Once Randall was going to be out, most likely. The other guys have not really played much. We just really felt, especially versus that team, we were going to need to run the ball on the road. And once again, we didn't want to get into a situation where we got young tight ends in there, versus a team that can cause you problems on the road. So we moved in there. He did a great job, even though he's a true freshman. Not an easy transition. Graded out really well, and so obviously he's back at tackle this week.
Pre-game Washington, what made you wipe the cups off the table?
Oh, I don't know. I saw it in a movie.
Had you ever done that before?
I'm sure I have. I don't know. I don't really plan what happens in those.
Last question.
Where did the idea to move Max to tight end come from? Did you adapt it? Did you borrow it from Stanford or something, or did you just?
No, we had actually worked on it in camp, and so it's not like we just did it for the first time. We had worked on it for some different short yardage packages. We had put him in at tight end. I gotta go.
Was it a question?
Thanks, Coach.